The United States of America 1-cent coin dated 1962. D. Bearing the inscriptions "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the Latin motto "E Pluribus Unum," stands as a small yet profoundly symbolic piece of American monetary and cultural history, produced during a decade defined by transformation, Cold War tension, rising technological advancement, and an evolving national identity. Struck at the Denver Mint, represented by the D Mint mark below the date, this copper-based penny belongs to the long-running Lincoln Cent series, first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, and by 1962 it had already become one of the most familiar coins in American pockets, representing not only currency, but also the memory of a president whose leadership through the Civil War and abolition of slavery fundamentally reshaped the nation's moral and political foundation, which explains why his portrait appears on the obverse, characterized by a right-facing profile. Designed by Victor David Brenner, whose initials VDB appear subtly on later versions but were originally removed due to controversy over prominence, while the 1962 D issue remained part of a period defined by high mintage runs, making it a common coin even decades later. Its significance does not lie solely in rarity, but in the reminder it carries of America's stability and economic continuity at a time when the nation stood poised between tradition and modernity. The coin itself, composed of primarily 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin, the classic bronze mixture used until 1982, giving it the distinctive warm reddish tone that ages into deeper brown hues over time. Millions of citizens of every social class, from factories to farmlands to city streets, exchanged such pennies daily for bread, newspapers, stamps, gasoline, or school lunch tokens, meaning the 1962 D cent is more than metal. It is a silent witness to everyday American life, circulating through countless hands, vending machines, corner stores, and children's piggy banks. The reverse design, featuring two sturdy wheat ears framing the denomination 1 cent and the proud national title United States of America, alongside the idealistic motto E Pluribus Unum, meaning out of many one, symbolizes a nation built from diverse states and people united into a single republic, making this coin both artistic and philosophical in message, a miniature declaration of unity and national purpose. Although collectors often overlook the 1962 D due to its abundance, high-grade specimens, coins with sharp detail, original luster, no wear, and minimal contact marks offer numismatic value, particularly in uncirculated and red (RD) color classifications, which reflect the coin's original brilliance from the mint. Holding such a coin today invites reflection upon the era of its mintage. During the presidency of John F. Kennedy, when America was entering the space age, the civil rights movement was gaining force, and global tensions shaped policies and dreams alike. And in this context, the penny feels like a time capsule, connecting modern eyes with the pulse of 1962 America through the simplest unit of currency that nonetheless carried enormous symbolic weight. Whether kept as a collectible, passed through generations as a keepsake, or found unexpectedly in circulation decades later, the 1962 D Lincoln cent remains a reminder of history melted into metal, small in denomination yet grand in heritage. Humble yet enduring, a coin that whispers stories of everyday life, national ideals, artistic legacy, presidential memory, and the unbroken thread of American identity expressed in the phrases it bears. In God we trust as a declaration of faith, liberty as the country's defining pursuit, and E Pluribus Unum as its enduring promise of unity. Next top. The United States of America 1 cent coin dated 1964, carrying the familiar inscriptions "In God We Trust, Liberty," and on the reverse "E Pluribus Unum," stands as a coin that bridges the end of one numismatic era and reflects a nation in transition, created at a time when America was undergoing immense social change, political tension, scientific advancement, and cultural shift, making this humble cent far more than a small piece of copper. It is a historical witness struck in metal, minted in vast quantity, The 1964 penny comes from the final years of the classic wheat reverse design before the transition to the Lincoln Memorial reverse in 1959, meaning that by 1964 the new memorial design was already standard. Yet these early memorial cents still carry the artistic lineage of the original Victor David Brenner portrait introduced in 1909, created to honor the life and vision of Abraham Lincoln, whose leadership in the Civil War and dedication to liberty cemented him as one of the most morally influential figures in American memory. The obverse side of the 1964 cent presents Lincoln looking to the right, with the word liberty placed to his left, a reminder of the ideals he defended, while above his head resides "In God We Trust," a national motto expressing the spiritual and moral foundation many Americans associate with the identity of the nation. And below his profile sits the year 1964, a year marked by the signing of the Civil Rights Act, the intensifying struggle for racial equality, the height of the Cold War, and the beginning of deep involvement in Vietnam, meaning that every 1964 cent circulated through a world filled with protest, vision, and transformation. The reverse of the coin, featuring the Lincoln Memorial standing tall in neoclassical design, replaced the wheat stalks that had symbolized agricultural strength since 1909. And with this monument engraved, Americans saw not only the seat of Lincoln's memory, but also the architecture of democracy itself. And within the fine lines of the memorial, one can even find, with magnification, the tiny silhouette of Lincoln seated inside, the only U.S. coin to depict the same person on both sides, a symbolic reflection of continuity and remembrance. The words "United States of America" arc proudly across the top, proclaiming the authority of a unified nation, while "E pluribus unum," meaning "out of many one," rests above the memorial, expressing the ideal of unity forged from diverse people, states, and histories. And below stands the denomination 1 cent, marking this coin as the smallest unit of American currency, yet one of the most culturally meaningful, composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. The 1964 cent represents the last period before later generations shifted toward copper-plated zinc, giving this coin a heavier, richer feel and a natural red-brown patina that deepens with time and circulation, so that a freshly minted bright red RD example stands as a vibrant reminder of mid-20th century craftsmanship, while worn brown circulated pieces carry the stories of countless hands, factory workers, schoolchildren, soldiers, shopkeepers, exchanging goods, saving pennies in jars, losing them between couch cushions, dropping them on sidewalks where they were picked up by someone new, each life adding narrative to this copper token, although billions were minted and many remain common. High-grade, uncirculated examples shine with historical beauty, while proof versions from the Philadelphia Mint display mirror-like fields and frosted detail that elevate the coin beyond currency into art. And even an ordinary circulated 1964 cent, discovered in a drawer or change purse decades later, feels like a small-time capsule whispering reminders of 1960s America, a country both hopeful and unsettled, dreaming of space exploration, fighting for equality, mourning the late President Kennedy, and stepping forward into a future unknown. Thus the 1964 1-cent piece is not mere metal but memory, a coin that reflects national values in the words it carries. In God we trust, expressing faith or conscience, liberty proclaiming the purpose of the American experiment, and E pluribus unum promising unity through diversity, making this simple penny a miniature history lesson, a keepsake of a changing nation, and a quietly powerful artifact of American life. Next top. The United States of America 1 cent 1976 coin, commonly referred to as a 1976 Lincoln cent, is a small yet historically meaningful piece of American numismatic heritage, minted during a time when the nation was celebrating its bicentennial, marking 200 years of independence from 1776 to 1976. Although the Lincoln cent design was not changed for the bicentennial, unlike the quarter, half dollar, and dollar which received special reverse designs, the 1976 penny still represents the era of national pride, economic transition, and a strong sense of identity in American history. On the obverse side of this copper-based coin appears the familiar and dignified profile of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, facing toward the right, wearing his classic suit and bow tie with fine engraving lines that reflect both his seriousness and leadership. Above his portrait, the national motto, "In God We Trust," is boldly inscribed, a reminder of the spiritual and cultural foundation acknowledged by the country. To the left of his profile is the word liberty, symbolizing the very core of the nation's founding, while the date 1976 is positioned to the right of his chest, representing the official mint year. The coin's composition during this era was typically 95% copper and 5% zinc, giving it a slightly darker, warmer tone compared to modern pennies, which after 1982 transitioned to a mostly zinc interior with only a thin copper plating. Turning to the reverse side, we see the enduring Lincoln Memorial, an architectural tribute to the same president depicted on the front, showing its columns, stairs, and central statue, details that reflect the mint's intention to combine history, honor, and precision into a single small object meant for everyday use. Above this monument arches the phrase "United States of America," asserting national identity, and just below it, the Latin motto, "E pluribus unum," meaning out of many, one, representing unity among diverse states and people. At the bottom, the denomination 1 cent is clearly marked, telling the holder its value while also marking it as the lowest but most circulated currency in the nation. What makes the 1976 penny historically engaging is that even though it had no special commemorative design, it was a coin that moved through millions of hands during the nation's bicentennial year, witnessing everyday life, schools, grocery stores, bus fares, soldiers returning home, families celebrating freedom, and generations exchanging the very currency that symbolized their country. Collectors analyze 1976 cents by checking details such as mint luster, strike quality, wear, toning, and the presence of errors like off-center strikes, double dies, clogging in the lettering, or unusual planchet marks, which can make certain pieces more desirable. A circulation-grade penny from this year generally holds minimal monetary premium, yet its true value lies in its historical character, its connection to Lincoln's legacy, and its representation of America at 200 years strong. To hold such a coin is to hold a fragment of time, small, common, inexpensive, yet rich with meaning, speaking of a nation built on liberty, trust in ideals, unity through diversity, and the enduring memory of a leader whose face and legacy continue to shape the identity of the United States. Next top. The United States of America 1 cent 1983 coin, commonly known as a 1983 Lincoln cent, holds a particularly important place in modern U.S. numismatic study because it represents a transitional era in American coin metal composition and manufacturing practices. On the obverse side of the coin, we see the familiar and enduring profile of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, a symbol of leadership, moral strength, and national preservation during the Civil War. His portrait, originally designed by Victor David Brenner, is sharply defined on many well-preserved pieces, showing texture in his hair, jacket lapels, facial contour, and the iconic bow tie that has been a hallmark of this design since 1909. Above Lincoln's head we find the national motto, "In God We Trust," a strong declaration of the guiding faith of the nation. To the left of his portrait stands the word liberty, representing the foundational idea upon which the United States was built, reminding every citizen using the coin that freedom is a principle that must be valued and preserved. To the right is the year 1983, a date that numismatists regard with special interest because just 1 year earlier, in 1982, the U.S. Mint changed the composition of the cent. Instead of being made mostly of copper as they had been for more than a century, 1983 Lincoln cents were minted primarily of zinc with only a thin outer copper plating. This major shift was driven by rising copper prices, making pure copper coins too costly to continue producing. As a result, 1983 pennies are 97.5% zinc and only 2.5% copper, giving them a lighter weight and a slightly different ring when dropped compared to earlier coins. On the reverse side, we find the beautiful and symmetrical Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo, with its stately pillars and steps carefully engraved in miniature detail. The inner center of the memorial even contains the tiny sculpture of Lincoln seated inside, a remarkable artistic achievement considering the coin's small size. Above the memorial arches the phrase, United States of America, identifying the nation responsible for the coin's production. Just below those words appears the important motto, E pluribus unum, translating to out of many one, a reminder that America is a union built from many states and cultures united under one flag. Beneath the memorial, the denomination 1 cent marks the coin's monetary value, though for collectors, its worth can be far higher depending on condition or rarity. The year 1983 is famous in the collecting community because a very small number of cents that year were accidentally struck on leftover bronze planchets instead of the new zinc cores. Any 1983 cent made of copper alloy, heavier in weight around 3.1 grams instead of 2.5 grams, is considered a rare and extremely valuable error. Beyond metal composition, collectors also look for doubled dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, weak strikes, and preserved mint luster. Circulated examples are extremely common and typically worth only face value, yet uncirculated pieces with original red luster, strong detail, and nowhere may be desirable to those building high-grade sets. Although more than billions of these coins were produced for everyday use, the 1983 penny carries with it a subtle but meaningful historical significance, not for a major event, but for a turning point in the way the United States created its currency. It represents a moment when economic pressure required adaptation and innovation, marking the beginning of the modern zinc-based penny era still in use today. A person holding this coin holds not just a small disc of metal, but a representation of changing times, shifting industry, evolving material science, and the continual journey of a nation. It traveled through hands buying groceries, paying bus fares, helping children learn to count, and moving through American life year after year, quiet, simple, and enduring. The 1983 Lincoln cent is a reminder that even the smallest coin has history inside it, a story of liberty, trust, unity, economy, and transformation, preserved in copper coating and zinc core, living proof that even the smallest things reflect the shape of a country's future. Next top. The United States of America 1 cent coin dated 1987, carrying the inscriptions, In God We Trust, Liberty, and E pluribus unum, represents a circulating Lincoln cent from the late 20th century, a period in which the traditional design introduced in 1909 continued to serve as America's most enduring and widely used denomination. This coin features on its obverse the well-recognized portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner to commemorate the centennial of Lincoln's birth. Above Lincoln's head sits the motto, In God We Trust, added in alignment with American cultural and national identity, reflecting the long-standing national belief in divine guidance. To the left of the bust is the word liberty, a reminder of the nation's founding principles, and to the right appears the date 1987, indicating the year of minting. Most coins from this year were minted at either Philadelphia, no mint mark, or Denver, marked D, with billions of coins released for everyday commerce. By 1987, the composition of the 1 cent coin had changed from its traditional bronze alloy to a copper-plated zinc core, a shift first introduced in mid-1982 to reduce production costs since the market price of copper had exceeded the face value of the coin itself. On the reverse of the 1987 cent appears the Lincoln Memorial, a design created by Frank Asparo, which served as the standard reverse from 1959 until 2008. Engraved above the structure are the words United States of America, and centered directly below them is the national motto, E pluribus unum, meaning out of many one, symbolizing unity among diverse states and people. Beneath the iconic memorial is the denomination 1 cent, affirming its face value. The Lincoln Memorial reverse carries an important symbolic resonance. Its architectural detail is precise enough to reveal even the small seated statue of Lincoln when magnified, mirroring the interior of the real monument in Washington, D.C. In circulation during the late 1980s, this coin served millions of Americans in daily transactions, reflecting everyday economic life in the United States. Although an ordinary piece of currency, it embodies historical continuity, national identity, and the legacy of Lincoln's leadership through the Civil War and emancipation. In numismatic culture, the 1987 1-cent coin is generally considered common due to its high mintage numbers and availability in circulation for decades, yet pristine examples, especially in mint state grades, MS, 65 and above, remain collectible for enthusiasts who value condition, strike clarity, luster, and sharpness of detail. While circulated examples typically hold only face value, coins preserved in original mint brilliance, sealed in government sets, or discovered with rare errors, such as off-center strikes, die cracks, double dies, or plating anomalies, can attract modest collector premiums. The coin also represents an era of technological transition at the U.S. Mint, where automated high-speed presses and improved planchette preparation increased uniformity, though occasional mistakes slipped through, creating varieties sought by error collectors. Socially, this cent serves as a miniature piece of American heritage. The repeated inscription of liberty emphasizes democratic ideals, while E pluribus unum reinforces unity from diversity, and In God We Trust reflects a national motto present on U.S. currency for over half a century by the time the 1987 cent was minted. Economically, the coin existed in a time of evolving U.S. markets, moderate inflation, changing metal values, and an expanding consumer economy, the penny remaining a crucial building block of retail pricing and cash transactions. Though small in value, it facilitated trade, savings jars, pocket change culture, and childhood coin collecting traditions. In this way, the 1987 1-cent piece is more than metal. It is a link between modern currency and American history, a continuation of Lincoln's memory carried through everyday hands, a testament to resilience in design, and part of a long-standing national tradition. It may appear tiny, light, and common, yet its inscriptions carry powerful meaning. Liberty, the moral backbone of the United States. In God We Trust, representing faith and national character. And E pluribus unum, a poetic reminder that strength arises from unity. The 1987 penny stands as a familiar ambassador of American identity, passed across generations, store counters, collections, and cultural memory. Next top. The United States of America 1-cent coin dated 1993, D, inscribed with the national mottos, In God We Trust, Liberty, and E pluribus unum, stands as part of the long-running Lincoln cent series, first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birth anniversary of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th U.S. president whose leadership preserved the Union through the Civil War and led to the abolition of slavery. On the obverse side of the 1993 D cent is the profile of President Abraham Lincoln, designed originally by Victor David Brenner, and above his head in graceful arc appears the phrase, In God We Trust, a statement of American identity linking national heritage to faith. To the left of Lincoln's portrait appears the word liberty, echoing the founding principle of American independence, civil rights, and democratic freedom. To the right is the date 1993, marking its year of minting, and directly below the year sits the mint mark D, indicating it was struck at the Denver Mint, which produced hundreds of millions of these coins for general circulation. By this time, the cent had already transitioned from its early bronze composition into a copper-plated zinc coin, 97.5% zinc core with 2.5% copper coating, a change implemented in 1982 to address rising copper prices that once made the metal inside the penny worth more than its monetary value. The reverse design features the Lincoln Memorial, introduced in 1959 to commemorate the sesquicentennial of Lincoln's birth, created by engraver Frank Gasparo. The reverse displays United States of America along the upper rim, and beneath it, centered above the memorial's columns, lies the phrase E pluribus unum, Latin for out of many one, symbolizing unity among the states and diverse American people. At the bottom, bold and clear, is the denomination 1 cent, defining its value for use in everyday commerce. In circulation during the early 1990s, a decade defined by technological growth, economic expansion, and increasing global influence of the United States, this 1993 D penny became a part of daily financial life, passing through hands in grocery stores, gas stations, vending machines, school cafeterias, savings jars, and pockets across the nation. Although it is a small denomination, its cultural impact is substantial. For many Americans, the penny serves as a symbol of thrift, childhood collecting, and the smallest building block of the financial system. The coin reminds generations of the story of Lincoln, a man born in poverty who rose to leadership, echoing the American ideal of progress through perseverance and equality. In numismatics, the 1993 D-cent is considered a common issue due to its high mintage, so most circulated examples hold only face value. However, collectors still value pristine mint state, MS, graded coins, especially those with strong strike, full original red luster, and no spotting or handling wear. Rare error varieties such as off-center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, double dies, or plating blisters caused by the coin's zinc core can command greater interest among specialists. Preservation is also relevant. Uncirculated coins stored in protective holders or found in original mint sets may show vibrant red color that gradually darkens with time and exposure. The coin also represents a period in U.S. mint evolution. High-speed presses, refined planchet fabrication, and improved die technology increased production consistency, although occasional interesting flaws still emerged and became collectibles. Historically, this tiny copper-clad coin holds more meaning than its 1-cent face value suggests. Liberty stands as a reminder of constitutional rights and freedom. In God We Trust reflects a national motto rooted in tradition and shared belief, and E Pluribus Unum emphasizes unity from diversity, the functioning heart of the American Republic. The Lincoln Memorial on the reverse serves not only as a tribute to a monumental leader, but also as a miniature architectural marvel, detailed enough that under magnification, one can observe the seated statue of Lincoln inside the memorial's interior, symbolizing honor, stability, and remembrance. For collectors and historians alike, the 1993 D penny is a continuation of one of the world's longest-running coin series, linking past, present, and future through metal, design, and national story. Though common and often overlooked, it remains a piece of American identity carried in the smallest denomination of currency, a reminder that history lives even in the simplest object, sometimes found in a drawer. Next top. The United States of America 1-cent coin from 1994, bearing the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and "E Pluribus Unum," stands as a continuation of the long-running Lincoln cent series, which has remained one of the most iconic and longest-produced coin designs in American history since its introduction in 1909 to commemorate the 100th birth anniversary of the 16th U.S. President, Abraham Lincoln. The 1994 penny is composed primarily of a copper-plated zinc core, a composition that became standard starting in 1982 after the mint transitioned from the earlier 95% copper alloy to a more economical zinc-based planchet with only a thin outer copper layer, giving the coin its classic reddish-brown shine but also making it more susceptible to corrosion when damaged or exposed to moisture. On the obverse front of the coin appears the bust of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, showcasing the president facing right with sharp, realistic detail in his facial structure, hair, and attire, while the word liberty is positioned to the left of his portrait, symbolizing the values of freedom and equality central to American identity. Above Lincoln, the national motto, "In God We Trust," arches in a traditional curve, highlighting the country's historic and cultural reverence for faith and unity, while the date 1994 appears clearly to the right, marking the year it was minted, and also helping collectors identify variations, errors, and mint marks that may exist among different issues of the same year. Some 1994 cents carry mint marks such as D for Denver or S for San Francisco, proof issues, while the absence of a mint mark indicates production at the Philadelphia Mint, which usually produced the largest share of circulating pennies. Turning to the reverse back of the coin, it features the Lincoln Memorial, a design created by Frank Gasparo and introduced in 1959 to replace the wheat ear reverse, symbolizing national resilience, leadership, and reverence for the legacy of a president who guided the nation through the Civil War and the abolishment of slavery. Within the memorial design, with close enough inspection, One can even see a tiny representation of the Lincoln statue inside the seated central chamber, making this reverse one of the few in U.S. coinage where both the obverse and reverse display the same figure. Above the memorial stands the bold inscription, United States of America, representing national authority, while directly beneath it lies the Latin phrase, E pluribus unum, meaning out of many one, a motto referring to the union of states and diverse populations forming one nation. At the bottom, the denomination 1 cent confirms its face value, though historically, especially in modern times, its purchasing power has diminished dramatically due to inflation, making it more valued today for numismatic interest than monetary spending power. The 1994 penny circulated widely across the United States for everyday transactions, buying small goods, giving change, filling coin jars, and moving through millions of hands, each coin silently witnessing its own journey through pockets, schools, stores, highways, and generations. In collecting terms, most circulated 1994 cents retain minimal collector premium, but exceptionally preserved examples in high mint state grades, especially those with original luster, strong strike details, or rare die variety errors, like double dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, or plated planchet flaws, are of interest to numismatists who appreciate the historical and structural qualities of modern Lincoln cents. Although common, the 1994 1-cent coin remains a miniature artifact of American history, representing economic continuity, national identity, artistic numismatic tradition, and the legacy of a president whose memory has endured through over a century of coin production, making each small copper-colored piece not just a monetary unit, but a physical chapter of the United States' evolving story in metal form. Next top. The United States of America 1 cent coin dated 1998, inscribed with In God We Trust, Liberty, and E pluribus unum, is part of the historically significant Lincoln cent series, a coinage line that has been continuously minted since 1909 to honor the legacy of President Abraham Lincoln, whose leadership during the Civil War and dedication to human equality cemented his place as one of America's most influential figures. The 1998 penny is composed primarily of 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper plating, a composition adopted after 1982 to reduce production costs, giving the coin its characteristic copper-colored surface, yet making it lighter and more prone to environmental corrosion when its thin outer layer is compromised. On its obverse front appears the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner, showing Lincoln facing right with sharp detail visible in his hair strands, cheekbones, coat folds, and bow tie, while the word liberty stands to his left, embodying the principle of freedom on which the nation was built. Directly above his head arches the national motto, In God We Trust, a phrase not only embedded in American culture, but legally present on U.S. currency for decades, affirming a long-standing connection between national identity and spiritual faith. To the right of Lincoln appears the date 1998, a marker that distinguishes this issue from surrounding years which share the same design but may differ in mint varieties, condition rarity, or error possibilities. Some examples bear AD for Denver Mint or S for San Francisco, proof coins only, while coins with no mint mark were struck in Philadelphia, the primary production facility for circulating pennies during this era. On the reverse back of the 1998 cent stands the Lincoln Memorial, a design created by Frank Gasparo and used from 1959 until 2008, featuring a neoclassical structure of tall columns, stairs, and interior statue detailing. With magnification, one can even observe the tiny seated Lincoln statue inside the memorial's central chamber, making this coin one of the rare cases in American currency where the same historical figure appears on both sides. Above the memorial is the sovereign designation, United States of America, denoting national authority and authenticity, while beneath it in a smaller but central typeface lies, E pluribus unum, a Latin phrase meaning out of many one, symbolizing the unity of diverse states and people joining to form a single nation. At the bottom sits the denomination 1 cent, confirming the monetary value of the coin which, while still legal tender, holds more symbolic and collectible interest today than purchasing power due to inflation. In circulation, the 1998 penny passed through the pockets, hands, stores, schools, and everyday lives of millions of Americans, acting as a tiny ambassador of commerce, history, and national heritage. Though common in worn condition, uncirculated examples with full mint luster, clean surfaces, and sharp strike detail are more desirable to collectors, and certain mint errors, such as doubled dies, off-center strikes, die clashes, or plating bubbles, can significantly increase value among specialists who search modern cents for hidden mechanical variations. As a piece of American numismatic history, the 1998 1-cent coin represents more than a copper-plated circle of metal. It captures the ongoing legacy of Abraham Lincoln, the endurance of national ideals, the evolution of U.S. minting technology, and the silent journey of a simple penny traveling across generations, commemorating a nation's identity through enduring design, familiar inscriptions, and the lasting words, "In God we trust, liberty, e pluribus unum," forever struck into its surface.